resigned.
Okay, sir.
All ready? Okay. Call the meeting to order. Rescue Commission, November 18th. First order of business is approval of the minutes.
Motion we approve.
I second that motion. Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same hand. Okay, it has passed. Region 1 is absent. Region 2 is not as absent.
Yeah.
No, Region 1 is really empty right now. Yeah.
I have some news from them if you,
Pardon?
so I have some Region 1 news.
Oh, right ahead.
Rescue 1's moving right along. They are having a lot of new members, a lot in training. Rescue 3 held elections. I was advised they had a new chief elected, and will be coming into term starting in January.
You have a name?
Jennifer Fuller.
Oh, wow, good. That it?
That's it.
Okay. Region 4, Michael?
Region 4 is.
Region 3, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Region 3. Talked to Mr. Tatum about 3 weeks ago. He said things seem to be looking up, having some more calls being covered. As far as Rescue 5, we're rocking along, just struggling with volunteers like most folks. We got a couple of days a week, everybody's at work, and we're very scarce on folks. And then the Christmas parade for Westminster is December the 3rd at 6 p.m. So could have some traffic congestion, stuff like that going on. That's it.
Okay, Eric?
Rescue 22, well, we're down, we have 6 current responders, two right now are in recertification. Other than that, we're staying, Rescue 22 is staying stable, so working on how we're gonna rebrand ourselves as time goes on, but we're still hanging in there.
Okay, Region 5 is me, and we had elections, and everything stayed the same. With Stephen and Casey heading up Rescue 8, I'm the treasurer, and with Rescue 7, it's Dan and
Lewis.
for chief and assistant chief, and I'm also the treasurer there. So, okay. Committees, radio committee. We're moving right along. We had our appointed meetings, and the last one was today, and it looks like we're coming down to the wire of things that need to be accomplished. We've had a little bit of struggling getting things accomplished, but we're moving along. Most of the squads and departments have gotten their digital radio equipment. We're waiting on some equipment to come in. The lever hall receiver has been installed, and we're waiting for reports on how that's working. The frequencies have been applied for the Salem water tank, and equipment has been ordered for that and for the testing receiver, which will just probably end up being a receiver that we put in an appropriate place that's needed on the donated 70 some odd foot tower that the city of Westminster has donated to the county. So that's it for that. I can't report anything about the training committee. Do you know anything?
Yes,
Okay.
training committee met, we finalized everything. We're just waiting on one more edit, proofread, and it went through the chiefs. We got some comments back, we made some changes, and once everything is settled at Upstate, we're gonna go back over and talk with them and Upstate EMS Council and make sure everything's okay with them, and we'll proceed.
Any word yet on who's gonna head up Upstate?
I know that Todd Bridges is the interim presently, and the job description is being finalized to go out for a job search for that position.
Okay. So the amended draft is gonna come out to the commissioners first?
Yeah, yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mike, your report, please.
All right. Been busy. I was hoping that we'd have some finished product from DEC on their rewrite of the 6.1 Tax 7. They chose to table it and not bring it up again for the rewrite, which has a lot of changes to it that affect first responders. So the equipment list that I have in front of you that we're going to talk about is a basic responder bag and equipment required. If we choose so, I'm going to give it to the chiefs next month. And it can be added and deleted, and we'll come back with a final. What every county response vehicle should have on it to be responding to calls, a minimum. You can have more, this will be the minimum standard. This is one thing I was looking at, this has been kicked around for a while. I would say a larger fire extinguisher, just one of the things. And then if it's an EMT, we'll get some of the more advanced stuff for them if it's so staffed. But pretty much this is the basic loadout right now. Just as a preliminary to get it started, and we'll hopefully wrap it up by, get everybody on board. A lot of people carrying a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff on the units that are just in the back of the pickup truck and never used. So, one thing about it, expiration dates tend to sneak up on everybody. Some of the stuff that you thought would not have an expiration date does. So, making sure we stay on top of that, bag checks, that kind of stuff. Any questions on the list?
Will this be like a requirement for the vehicles or just more of a suggestion?
I think it's gonna be a requirement. I mean, this is basic stuff to handle basic calls by an EMR.
Okay. And the only reason I make that comment, I look at the long spine board, and all we have is this Explorer truck. I don't know if a board.
They make breakdowns.
Yeah. Okay, so we can just pick
It's
one of those
possible.
up. Okay.
Do you think we're gonna get to the point where we suggest a basic bag for individual responders?
Yes. With that said, we gotta look at what's basic, and everybody toting an oxygen cylinder around with them in a personal vehicle. If you're gonna be the primary and you're gonna be the primary responding, make it to where it's the initial responder bag. Hopefully the pickup truck or SUV is coming right behind it with the additional equipment you need. So, that'll be the next one.
Thank you.
But with, like you said, with backboards, this is old school, like I said. EMS world has gotten away from backboards totally almost, except on extenuating circumstances where they clear them, they don't clear them for a board. So we'll look at that. I mean, but they do make disposable backboards and hard backboards, which are half the size. You just
Okay.
put them together.
Well, it's just for
Yep.
fitting and storage.
Standards. Way back when, in 2013, Chief Crine came up with a standard operating guidelines for rescue squads. And it was brought up, and I think rescue squads basically approved them, and it kind of like got filtered through because the fire department's never acted upon it. We want to get into some type of standard for our training, which we're working on with the standard training. Get back to, everybody talked about it, having members. Well, keep the members that we got, and if people are not active, tell them, you don't make the meetings, you don't make the responses, you're not helping us. We want you to help, but if you choose not to, you become an inactive member, that type of stuff. Officer standards, make them basic, We're gonna have it where if you're an officer, you're gonna have your FEMA courses 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8, and then you gotta be at least an EMR. Do you think the chief should be an EMR? That type stuff. And whatever other leadership courses, and they're few and far between. They're getting more for EMS, but something we can work toward. Just to throw it out to get us thinking about, keeping up with what's going on with the world around us. NIFRs and PCRs. Everybody saw, I don't know if you got the email from Brady talking about, says Chief Norris talking about ESO. ERS was bought out approximately 6-7 months ago. I don't think we've had any correspondence officially from them. But the ESO took over Firehouse reporting, they took over ERS, and I think one other. Well, their standard is gonna be the ESO standard. The only one around here using it, I know currently, well, two, are, Prisma uses it for their PCRs, and Seneca City uses it as their primary reporting. So we'll let you know more on that coming out. It is a little bit more cumbersome. It's more flashy for presentations, but I found it very hard to use when I was trying to look through some of the call reports for incentives, looking to pull call reports for people. So it's we're gonna have to detail what we want this system to do for us, basically.
When do you think we'll be losing what we're using now?
I do not know. We're standing by. They just put that out within the last week.
Yeah, we have already requested a liaisons person to do and basically that's how they're gonna work through that, to try to, as we work a transfer, to see what we keep, what we don't, that kind of stuff as it moves over the next year at some point is what it sounds like, but there's no deadline specifically as it goes through that we've heard of.
Other than that, everybody's been getting on their PCRs, getting them done. Pretty much been getting reviewed every day by staff, and ones that are, getting a phone call to fix their report, so everything is looking good. Quarterly reporting, I know you do your mileage. I know I asked about the chiefs to get me their mileage so we can start comparing. There's some vehicles that are getting a lot of mileage before 3 months before you send your quarterly in. So just to keep up on top of those and make sure it's not lagging 3 months when it's supposed to do for service. Fire trucks are pretty much taken care of because fuel cards. However, all the rescue squads buy their own fuel, so the staff at the garage can't keep track of the mileage. So this way, we just send it to me monthly. I'll send it in to them. They say, oh, by the way, send this one over. We just had both Salems in one for extended service and one for a regular service. So trying to keep on top of that and make these vehicles last us a lifetime. We need them to. 15 years. And that's all I have, unless you got any questions.
Director Crime.
First thing on the list, is a discussion regarding volunteer packets. Heard a couple comments on this. We are trying to make sure everyone has the paperwork done right. So the biggest thing is if a member starts, we have to have a full packet. Unfortunately, if it goes over and it's not full, sometimes it takes 2 to 3 weeks to bounce back and forth to get everything done. It's relatively quick to actually get everything done if the packet is complete. Over the years, people have said, oh, we turned a whole packet in last year. Unfortunately, it never was completed, so that the new forms have to be completed to go in now. Example, the W-9 is a new form every year, and in January will be. If you didn't finish the package and you're complete, you have to do all those forms that are yearly forms again for 2022 until we get you completely in. So it is very important that the whole package be filled out so that we can make sure that our members have workman's comp. If a full packet isn't complete and we have all the paperwork done, a member should not be running calls. They're not officially in the system yet, and if something was to happen, I want to make sure everyone's taken care of. And we don't have someone fall through the cracks and their paperwork wasn't done, and they're not on a roster anywhere, they're not on our workman's comp, and someone's been hurt, and then we have a really big problem. So, make sure your chiefs understand packages have to be completed in our office, and then the whole process has to be done before we start telling them they can run calls. Understand, they are getting workman's comp from the county, and if we don't have all that paperwork, there's a gap in liability there. So, help us with that, please. Quarterly checks. One of the things, Mike's taken care of, I know we've always turned in the mileage. Again, we're doing that monthly. We've had some trucks that were way in excess of the mileage because we had gone 3 months and as much as they're being driven. So that should solve some of that. The other piece of that is we need to make sure that all reports are done. I've instructed the officers and Mike and battalion and everyone, if your call reports aren't done, your mileage isn't in, and everything on that sheet isn't complete, you're not gonna get a check. Because, that is one of the requirements for that. And I know in some quarters in the past, it was, I'll get it done, and it hasn't happened. So we need to make sure we get caught up on that as we move forward, going through that. Report completion. I think, starting the new year, we need to, try to encourage and training and whatever it takes to make sure that we get these reports completed, not in a abbreviated version, that, we truly do a narrative. We truly do a PCR when we need to, and, complete them in a timely manner. And make sure that we're not just closing them immediately if there's someone needs to add to that report, but at the same time, it's not sitting out there 3 weeks and we have a call because we've forgotten about it that we didn't close it. So we need to work on that. Mike, I know, has been working with people on ERS and those things. And then battalion is also trying to get those, that information put together. Sometimes you don't have all the numbers for the responding vehicles that are on that report, for times and all that. So, we're trying to work a good way out. At the same time, we're now going into a possible new reporting system. So we know that there's gonna be another issue. For the next year, we're gonna have to figure out how that's gonna look for us. So please help us do everything you can with the reporting, and we'll try to help you with training, getting the best options as we move forward with the new system for completing those reports.
Scott, regarding the PCRs, I think there's a problem with everyone understanding what the delineation is between having to and having not to do a PCR.
Okay,
What kind of contact you actually have to have.
right, okay.
And I know a lot of people try to understand that on a limited basis so they don't have to do a PCR, when in essence, they should be doing a PCR. For
Okay.
instance, just bagging a patient. I would say to myself, of course, that's patient contact. But it's not always looked at that way. So if we cleared it up as to when you've crossed that line, I think it would be helpful.
Okay, Mike, we'll,
It's
Well,
been,
we've done that.
Yeah.
That sounds like we need to do some education. So we'll work on that education piece of that, to make sure that it's clear, especially when we go into the new system. We're gonna have to do training anyways, so it'll be a good opportunity. We'll make sure we emphasize that.
but with that said, it's been iterated at every training, every continuing ed for EMRs that or in classes that, you lay hands on a person at EMS is there, and you do procedures, you're supposed to do a patient care report. You're legally obligated to do it as a responder in the state of South Carolina.
They may say, well, that wasn't really a procedure, all he did was hold C-spine, or something like that. To me, if you have hands on a patient, but then you have to say, does that include helping EMS load the person onto a backboard and a stretcher? Where does it start and stop? So,
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take that advisement and make sure we try to make it as clear as we can. But we can't control the person that's trying to, short the system.
absolutely.
We just need people to do their job and not try to circumvent the system.
Basically, they're shorting themselves because they're the ones, if it comes to court and called in, and they haven't properly documented the procedures they've done, they're ultimately responsible for it.
And the other thing, as far as reporting, being completed, I don't know how the battalions are looking up reports to see if they've been done or not. We had an incident with Rescue 5 a few weeks ago to where they came and said everything was good, gave us our last quarterly check. And then they go this time, everything's good, but you got one from last quarter that's not complete. So how did we miss it last quarter if we're consistently looking through reports being done? Another issue that we see is they'll say, well, reports are not completed, but they were a no response call. I can't go in and complete a no response call.
So we're working on that.
Okay.
We've instructed them on the no response calls to report it that way. And then also when it goes to some of those last quarters issues, in some cases it got reassigned. In other words, it came in and it got assigned to 6 and they were doing audits or the 6 finally said, no, that's not our call. And it was assigned, and so it gets reassigned, which happens to fall in that gap.
Gotcha.
And then all of a sudden you have an open call because it was reassigned to the
Okay.
squad that it happened to.
Makes
And-
sense.
And this goes back to, doing a call within 24 hours, having a log in your truck that says, here's the call I ran, and then you go to the computer and go, I did the PCR for this one, did the PCR for this one, did the PCR for this one, so you did all the calls. That's very hard when you have responders going from home and all that. It is hard to track sometimes. And so we understand that, and we know that we're trying to get you, hey, these aren't done, those kind of things, but we're also trying to look at it and better than we used to. We're trying to make sure we reassign those calls earlier if we identify, and so it doesn't, you don't come in and realize that you just finished everything and then we reassign 2 calls to you.
Right, yeah,
So
Okay.
we're trying to work through that.
okay.
Discussion regarding capital improvement plan and we'll go back to the rescue truck update, stuff. It's all kind of one. We've had, 2 significant motor vehicle accidents. One's totaled and one, we're actually getting fixed. We were able to reallocate a vehicle that was underutilized, to replace, Mountain Rests, one that was totaled, for that. But, what I see is we need to take care of our vehicles, and we also need to do a report if there's an accident. If we damage the truck, a report needs to be done, number one, so that we can, get the thing fixed, because we have to keep them because they're not in the replacement plan, or not yet in the replacement plan. Those trucks are a 15-year truck replacement plan, and, it's the next couple of years before we start getting any. And just the other day, walked into a station and I'm like, wow, what happened to that? And, the chief was notified, but no paperwork was done. So we need to make sure you talk to your chiefs, and paperwork has to be done. There is an accident form that needs to be done. Drug screenings have to be done if there's damage to other property. There's things that have to do, so please contact the battalion officer when there's an accident. That includes the chiefs as the direct supervisor and the responders need to make sure they're doing their part. Unless you're making tons and tons of mistakes, accidents are accidents, and we understand that. But we need to look at them and make sure that someone's not abusing our equipment, because in some cases, it is abuse of our equipment. So we want to make sure that we take care of the citizens' money that has to replace these vehicles or fix them when they're torn up a little bit.
Each county vehicle should have received a red binder folder like this, but red. I think all of them were with accident forms and reporting needs to be done with them. If you didn't get one, get with myself or Lieutenant Honeycutt.
How minor an accident needs to be reported?
If you dent the truck, you run into something, you scrape down the side of it, let's report it.
Okay.
Because what a dent to you was we replaced a quarter panel to someone else and they were like, that's not a bad problem. I'm just being honest. So it helps us get it over to motor pool to get things fixed before it gets any worse.
It's not like new, turn it in.
Right. It's not like you got it. Incentive update. We sent an email out yesterday about the Chiefs 50 points. We've got a good many of those back in. I think, Mike, did we get?
We have 5 so far,
Okay.
chiefs.
So we got some in. Each chief has 50 points in the incentive program. You need to know who those administrative points go to. These are specifically, we want them to go to people that helped you out in administrative duties and extra duties. So that, again, those people that didn't qualify because they don't run calls, but may do your books or may do that, gets points to receive that incentive check money. So please reach out tomorrow, if you don't mind, to your chiefs and just say, hey, make sure they're turned in so we can get this done. We have to have that stuff done by Tuesday mid-morning. We have to have all those numbers in, or those points will have to go further down the road. If that person hasn't filled out paperwork, they got to fill out paperwork. So again, we have to make sure that they're complete to actually get them a check. Doesn't mean they won't get it, but we won't cut checks until probably the week before Christmas of anything that needed to be fixed.
Could you share with us who hasn't turned in there so we can nudge them along?
I don't
The
have that
short
right now.
list is,
Pardon me?
I said I can give you the short list of who has.
Okay.
Rescue 4, Rescue 5, Station 24, Station 10.
That's fire.
Yes.
What about rescue?
Rescue was just Rescue 4, Rescue 5.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, and Rescue 7.
Okay.
That was the 5th.
So please, we want to make sure we get that in and finalize that out. It is looking like about, the incentive this year is $7.50 roughly, a call as it goes out.
When are you expecting the first wave?
Probably the week after Thanksgiving, we hope, as long as we get the stuff run for, on Tuesday.
Roughly 154 personnel qualify for it, have everything in.
Yeah, and that may change a little bit with the 50-point administrative.
Is there going to be only one give out of checks, or
No,
will
we'll
another
do-
one follow?
We'll correct everything, but it's not gonna be weekly. We won't do the next correction until the week before Christmas. Last thing I have is the biannual FEMA graded drill. So last year, we didn't do a lot of radiological training and those things because of COVID. that is a requirement, for our responders that may have to, help in that emergency, if it be, a person, contaminated, if it be, to have knowledge of what's safe and what's not. So we need to make sure that we try to make sure we schedule that this year. Scott Smith, I know he's actually teaching this tonight, at Salem. So, people are are actually getting it. I think he has already done 22 too.
Yeah, 22 a couple
But
months
please,
ago, yeah.
get those out and get those done for us. It makes a big difference when we do our paperwork, especially catching up.
That's the radiological training?
Yes, the radiological training. As we're catching up, we try to, update it a little bit with FEMA new knowledge and those kind of things as it comes out. So it's not just the same PowerPoint every year after year, and change it up a little bit, but we have to have that, as part of our requirement, because we have a nuclear plant. And so, please help us with that by getting your members that training, and getting it scheduled, to go ahead and cover that for us. We do have the next drill coming up. We're gonna be working on many different things, emergency worker decon, EOC operations, public information, and then the actual drill will be coming out, will be done, March timeframe, as we go through. So we'll be getting the hard, fast dates soon on all of those, get them approved by FEMA and everything, that everything's gonna happen soon. So you'll see that, some of you, or some of the members are involved, with the EOC and the emergency worker decon, so, we're gonna be, hot and heavy on that real quickly, once we get through the holidays. And that is all I have.
I got one thing I meant to ask when we were talking about training back there. Got an email this week in reference to, bloodborne pathogen training.
Okay,
Was that just for fire, or was that?
that's for everybody,
Okay, I thought so, cause it said county employees.
yes.
But
Now,
it
you
said
guys
it
have
was-
action training?
We do.
Their bloodborne pathogens is part of that. So and when talking with Debbie Smith about this, that training met the requirements.
Okay.
Because it's based on our job.
Well, my question was, is this something new? If you've already had it through the year, do you need to go ahead and do it again?
This is, the county puts it out every October.
Cause
For
it
everybody
said by
to do it.
November the
Yeah.
5th, and we didn't get the email
I-
till like the
right.
14th, so.
So
So as long as you've had it this year, you're okay.
I'm pulling Rescue One did it back in April. So a couple of you guys did it, I think, earlier this year.
Springs, I remember.
But it says a part of the action training, which everybody has, most everybody has. And talking with Debbie, that just would just print off, your certificate and take it in.
Okay,
I can actually probably do it from my console.
okay.
The biggest thing we need to make sure is that, if there's anything change in the plan of where you take bloody objects, who are, the process for, exposures in those, if any of that changes, you have to go over it. That's why we recommend everyone do it in
Yeah,
October.
no, I don't have a
Is that's
problem.
when all that changes.
Okay.
So, that's the need, or that's kind of why everyone, a few years ago, we had said that bloodborne pathogens is always done in October for that purpose, or actually November, for that purpose, because all those changes come out in October. But, I know over the years, we caught people up, they ended up, getting off cycle and stuff. But that is the main, everything else counts, but if that changes, we still have to go over it in October when it changes.
Okay. Thank you.
If that is all, I think we need to take a vote and move into executive session for some voting. Is that correct?
Correct. Responder of the year,
Okay, okay.
evaluation.
Would somebody care to make a motion for that?
I'll make a motion, we move into executive session.
All in favor, right hand? Opposed, same? Okay. Let's move into executive session.
Somebody could make a motion that we come out of executive session?
I make a motion that we end the executive session.
Okay, all in favor?
I'll
Or seconded?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Passed. Would somebody like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of Mike Carroll? Is that how it's worded?
No,
No, I make a recommendation that Mike Carroll present
Oh, okay.
at the Christmas dinner the award that we, or the present. I had that in my head. I make a motion that Mike Carroll make the presentation at the Christmas dinner to the candidate that we chose.
Yes. Good.
I will.
Any second?
I will second that proposal.
All in favor, right hand? Opposed? Passed? Okay. Any old business or new business? Oh, we don't have that anymore. Old business we do, not new. Okay, and we'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Also.